Hey guys, Paul Reddick here. Welcome to a very special edition of the Baseball Dads podcast. In the weeks and months ahead, we're going to be bringing you some of these more direct podcasts. And quite honestly, I'm recording this on my phone. And the reason why we're doing that is there's a lot of questions that we get in emails and phone calls and Facebook group messages that maybe don't warrant an entire podcast to cover, but certainly is information we want to have available to you and kind of tips that we want to make sure that you get as as a member of this community. So we just did this podcast about this huge Little League scandal, episode 59. And, I don't know that many of us will ever be in a situation like that. Hopefully never. God forbid. I don't think anyone wants to be involved in that. But, what happens when there's kind of a thing in our family or with our son or maybe our team or maybe our whole league doesn't act in a way that's out of line with our values and our integrity. But look, let's just kind of cut the you know what and say, look, as dads, we screw up. And sometimes we make mistakes and sometimes our values get out of line. Sometimes we lose our temper and sometimes we can get overly excited in the game and we could take it too seriously and we can just get out of balance. And what do we do when that happens? And because more or less, almost all the discussions I have with dads really come down to this: like, I either don't know what to do, or I messed up, and how do I fix it? So I always go back to that we should have a written set of values, a written, I'm sorry, a discussed, agreed upon, written, and reviewed set of values for your family. So if you haven't done that, please go back and refer to the podcast where we do review how to set up values. But part of the values in my home is, and I review these with my sons almost daily, is we have kind of what constitutes the behavior of a good man. And one of the things that we have on that list is a good man says sorry when he makes a mistake. And now that is definitely behavior that we want to see our sons emulate, right? When they make a mistake or they mess up or they do something in the normal course of growing up and being a kid. But what do we do when we mess up? And I'll be honest with you, I lost my cool. It was about April. Last April. I lost my cool. It's a long story. You don't want to, it's too long for this. But basically I lost my cool, made a mistake and lost my temper. And like, my kids knew it. My sons knew it. And if I want them to uphold the value of the behavior of a good man, I have to emulate that. I have to demonstrate that. And so the next day, after I cooled down a little bit, I, talked to my sons in the morning and I said, look, Dad messed up last night. I messed up. I made a mistake. And here's what I did wrong. And I lost my temper. I lost my cool. I certainly said some things I didn't mean. And I hope that you can forgive Daddy. And I'm very sorry. And I apologize. And I hope that you can forgive Daddy. And, let me tell you something. Like, as simple as those words sound, right? Man, it was not easy to say, right? It was not easy to say at all. But it was certainly something that I did need to say because I just messed up. And remember that our kids are gonna, they're gonna echo what we do. They're gonna be a reflection of us. They're gonna do what we demonstrate. And if we expect them to uphold values, they need to see those values being enacted. And I think one of the most valuable things that we can do as fathers is to let our sons see that we are just as human as they are, and we make mistakes just as they do. And we have to take the same kind of corrective course that we would expect them to do. And that was a valuable time, and as much as I regret losing my temper, as much as I regret, saying some things that were out of character for me, I wouldn't change it because it was definitely an opportunity for my sons to see that Dad makes mistakes, Dad is human, and Dad is taking the same course of correction and the course of asking for forgiveness and offering an apology that I would expect out of you. So if we lose our temper with our kids at a game, if we freak out over something, if we yell at our kids, and look, it's just going to happen. You're not going to be the perfect dad. Nobody is. But when we make those mistakes, I don't ever want a dad to feel guilty over doing that. And I speak to a lot of dads who are very, very guilty over that. Please don't feel guilty about it. We're going to do that. We're going to make mistakes. There's a lot of pressure on us. It's hard to be a father. It is hard to be a father today. And and I know that I've never spoken to a dad who I didn't think was doing the best they could. And I remember hearing a quote one time that said, everyone's doing the best they can from their current stage of development. And I think as fathers, we always have to be developing. So when we mess up, when we screw up, when we make a mistake, it's something that we could feel a lot of guilt about, a lot of shame about, and be really embarrassed about. And we know that we shouldn't act that way. But again, we are human. And I look at this as a gift. I look at it as an opportunity to reach out to our kids, reach out to our sons and say, look, dad messed up. Here's how we agreed we handle mistakes. And let me show you, watch dad do the thing that I expect you to do. So, just a little quick tip. We hope to bring in these to you much more often. And again, any questions that you have, if you want to set up a time to talk with me, if you want, there's a whole bunch of stuff over at baseballdadsshow.com. But again, thanks so much for listening, guys. Hope this tip helped. And do remember, dads, you are human. We're going to make mistakes. Be easy on yourself. Be gentle with yourself. It is hard to be a father these days. So I will see you guys in the next podcast.